Welcome to
She's Strong and Sassy.
Sassy. I still love the way we start this show.
Yeah.
So if you want to smash your limiting stories so that you can make a positive impact for yourself and others while having fun with other women, She's Strong and Sassy is definitely the program for you. We define a strong and sassy woman as a she who knows her worth, who accepts her amazing imperfect self and is not afraid to use her superpowers to empower herself in the world while elevating others alongside with her growth. So hello there, I am Joy and I have Sassy Carol right here with me. So wave hello, Carol.
Hi.
So last week, the last episode, we talked about she with self-compassion. And today we are going to explore a topic very compatible with self-compassion. Today, let's dive into authenticity. Brené Brown says, the core of authenticity is the courage to be imperfect, vulnerable, and to set boundaries. So, my dear She's, how good are you at setting boundaries? And how good are you at being imperfect and vulnerable? Would your family and friends describe you as being authentic? Being true to ourselves is the best gift that we can give to the people we love. When we let go of trying to be everything to everyone, then we can have so much more time, freedom, love, and connection for the important people in our lives. We are all connected to each other through a loving and resilient human spirit. But it is definitely by no means easy. In fact, it's a really messy business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Joy. It is indeed. And in a world that we live in where superficiality is valued and perfect is encouraged, we try to fit into societal molds to become more successful or to find love and to be accepted, losing who we are as a result.
Mm. Mm. And so beware that when you trade your authenticity for safety, you may experience anxiety, depression, and for women, eating disorders, even addiction, rage, blame, resentment, and maybe even grief.
Yeah. And you know what? Being authentic isn't really rocket science. And that's what we're going to explore and brave together how to cultivate authenticity in our lives with our special guest, Marie Ang. Now, she is a certified John C. Maxwell and ICF coach, mentor, and she serves on the advisory boards of several businesses in Australia, China, Hong Kong, and Singapore, 4 countries. She's also an author of OMG, What's the Matter with Me? I love that book title.
They're right.
And it is an autobiography and recognized in the Huffington Post as a leader in spearheading leadership in women. So let's welcome, while I love her title, the head mistress of SG Mistress Class, Marie! Marie!
Yes.
Welcome, Marie.
Hello. Wow, what an honor. Thank you for that introduction and the hair flipping. I feel so connected.
Yeah, and I bet you will never forget this special introduction that you have. You must be introduced so many times on all the different platforms, but never ever have like only on Strong and Sassy Show.
Exactly. I mean, like we have male doing it, but they don't have enough hair, so there you go.
They don't have enough zest.
Exactly right. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Marie. Thank you for saying yes. And Marie, the reason why I invited you to be on this show is because I have always admired your outspoken nature and the way you practice fierce love for women and your passion in the way you take care of the women in your tribe in Mistress Class. I think that you are such an invaluable inclusion for such a topic as cultivating authenticity. So really appreciate your presence to show to share your wisdom with all of us.
Thank you. It's my passion. Actually, it's not just my passion, it's my conviction. because passion lasts a distance, conviction lasts a lifetime. And come hell, fire, high water, you just continue to do what you need to do. And this is my so-called ultimate purpose.
Super. Carol, can you feel that fire in Marie?
Oh, yes. And when she said conviction, I can feel the strength that is oozing out of Marie.
Yes, indeed. So this is definitely a strong and sassy mistress that we have here.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
We just flip a little bit, yes.
Yeah, and then she really perfects the hair flipping.
She nailed it.
Yes.
So since this is our episode, we don't have an episode next week. This is a fortnight show. Next week is Deepavali, where our friends will be celebrating this festival of light. So we thought that we would join in early this celebration by wearing our saris to celebrate alongside with all our friends out there. We'll be celebrating this festival of life. And I also think that it's so symbolic because all the topics and the discussions that we try to trigger in our show, it is our own way of inspiring light back into women's life and reminding them of the light that's within them, right? By discussing deep topics that is not discussed enough, such as like self-compassion and authenticity. So we are not just sharing and discussing, we are also wearing it today.
Yes. So just so for all the ladies out there, so this is my full
Yeah, I love the
check
work.
that out. You have to take one round have to show up.
Well, with the back, there's nothing really. So it's just the front. So so I bought this in Little India because I had to attend an Indian festival, and so out of respect. Usually when we attend certain festivals, out of respect for the organizer as well as for the occasion, I will try to, dress up in that sense.
Loving that thoughtfulness, Marie, that you have. And this is something that is really one common strength that women have that I think we don't acknowledge and appreciate ourselves enough. Or we just take for granted, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. But hey, not everybody does the right thing, even if it's the right thing to do. So thank you, Marie, for wearing this to match our theme and occasion and making this a so much more beautiful episode. So before we dive into this conversation on authenticity, let's have a fun fact from you, Marie. So when you feel like feeling sassy, what do you do?
Wow, that is a very, very tough question, actually. No, really, right? Because of the things that we do, right, I tend to be quite serious. So if I want to feel sassy, right, I would dress up. So I come from a Peranakan background also. So feeling sassy means wearing my own traditional Peranakan kebaya. And so, I just dressed up. And then after I start walking in the markets and people go like, what the hell is this woman doing, dressing up, going to the markets, But I just feel sassy about it. I just wanted to portray my culture. I want to portray my race in a sense. So that's what I'll do.
Nice. You definitely portray that today for the show. So yeah, it's like it's such a perfect guest because you are also highlighting why we dressed up for our show. And Strong and Sassy, to be honest, it's really the only show that I take deliberate attempt to dress up because that was our agreement when we started the show. Never mind if we even we were stuck at home, we dress up for ourselves, we dress up for each other, we dress up for the show. So loving that attitude, and thank you for sharing that with us. It also, I think, reveal a little bit of the character, the values that Marie have, isn't it, Carol?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the fact that she calls herself the head mistress. I mean, it takes a lot of sass in order to recognize that and say, why can't I just call myself anything? I am a woman. I want to be known as a head mistress, and so the head mistress I am. And I really, really love that. And I appreciate you putting it out there, because a lot of women, they don't own that enough, to go out and say, what, I'm taking control. And thank you for being the forerunner, in fact, by doing so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Don't do the lotus yet.
Or you can do this.
Yes.
After the end of this show, everybody like, that could be pain, don't know why.
True story. Yeah.
Yeah, so because Marie is, as Carol has observed, so vocal, so outspoken, I felt like it was so perfect to have her for this topic of authenticity, about speaking up, because there is a big piece of fear and wanting to be small when it comes to authenticity. So, okay, so it sounds like this is the right time for us to dive right in and explore this topic. So the forerunner researcher in terms of for shame and self-compassion and authenticity is naturally Brene Brown. And Brene Brown says that owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we will ever do. So, ladies, what are your reflections on this really profound statement?
Very interesting. So, in fact, I love to tell stories. And how we can be authentic actually stems from, way from our baggage, from our history and legacy of the family. And I personally feel that, authenticity comes from our self-esteem. And in that sense, like when we love ourselves enough to say, look, I'm not okay. I'm going to take the challenges head on. And as a result of that, right, it's okay to say, I'm not okay, but I'm authentic in a sense that, I'm only human. So basically, I agree with that reflection in a sense that, loving ourselves enough to say, look, I don't want to keep beating myself up, shredding my self-esteem and so on and so forth. And as a result of that, just to fit to the norm. So that would be my reflection in a sense.
Yeah, I love how you say that, like sharing stories. And I believe and always believe that it is through sharing stories that we learn from each other's experiences, that we grow as humans. And well, for me, my reflection, I guess the whole statement really ties back into, I wasn't able to share my story of growing up, all the pain and everything. I wasn't able to come to terms with my past. And I always felt that, it wasn't bad enough, to be worthy to be brought out. Why would anybody want to hear my side of the story? I'm compared to a lot of people, I've actually got it. I'm the luckier one. And then I realized that being open and being real is really a liberating experience. Even though, by going back to the memory and documenting the experience that I had, even though it was a heart-ripping episode, but in fact, by being real and revisit and talking about it, it is actually a healing process in the end. Yeah.
Exactly.
What about you, Joy? Darling, are you muted? I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm back on. So even though as a mindfulness-based strengths coach, I'm always sharing with others how to replace their self-limiting stories with strengths-based stories. I think that the best place to be is actually to be storyless, because in order to have stories means to have identities, to on some level to have some kind of attachment to some identity, and identities are impermanent. What can be created can also be destroyed, and what you can just be, whatever that means, what does being means to you, to be in that essence, I think that pure light that we are, that is something that cannot be destroyed. And I think that having strengths-based identity is a very helpful stepping stone towards being identityless, because we are very used to having identity because we are human, and having identity has its value and purpose and help us to function. So if we have the identity of being a mother, then we will really do our best to fulfill the duties of a mother and so on. But the danger is we tend to over-identify with it, especially women. And I think to replace limiting stories with strengths-based identity is a good stepping stone to move towards being identityless. I think loving myself has been a wow journey for many years. because it's hard to feel any sense of love when you have no sense of self-worth. Like, where does the love even begin? But indeed, it was the bravest and most courageous thing that I have ever done. But I still think that it's a constant mindfulness process, choosing to love myself every day, all day, regardless.
I think if I may put in another perspective for all the ladies out there, this is something that I do, by the way. So I think a lot of people misunderstood identity as like, your roles, your jobs, your status, your titles. We have to understand, first and foremost, when you are out from the womb of your mother, the first thing they say is, it's a human being. It's not like you come out with 6 eyes, 4 nose, kind of thing. So you come out as a human being. That's identity number 1. Identity number 2 is, what's your gender? They don't come out, pull out the baby and say, oh, it's I don't know what is it. It's like, you're a boy, a girl, you got a son or a daughter. So that's our second identity. And the third identity is, you are the daughter of somebody, Mr. and Mrs. Whether you're adopted or not, you're still a daughter of, biological or adopted, doesn't matter. You still belong to somebody. The fourth identity is your race. Whether you're Chinese, you're Malay, you're Indian, you are, whatever that may be. And last but not least, obviously, it's a country. But then the thing is that one is a bit dependent where you move to. But these are the 4 things that we need to box them. It is not adopted, neither is it, in a sense, changeable. You can't change that. This is you. The other box would be like, for example, your title. You're the CEO of, you're founder of. Okay, your responsibilities, your tasks, your status, you're born into poor, born into rich, all these things has got no bearings on the first box. So a lot of people misunderstood that, when they hold certain titles, it's their identity. And when they lose that, they lose their identity along with it. And it should not be the case, because you can't put your so-called the human being identity and say, oh, I'm not an accountant today. Done. That's my life over. No, it's not that. You still can change. You still can adopt. You still can develop. And so this is the thing that I feel a lot of women lost that sense. And then when it becomes authenticity, they don't know which is what. What is what, which is what. Why is it so? But your authenticity is number 1. You're a human being. You cannot do anything about it. That's what it is, basically. So that's my point, basically.
Beautiful. I love how you structured it so that it's really clear and easy to understand. For some women, easy to understand, but still a challenge to live that way.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I find it noteworthy that in the book, The Gifts of Imperfection from Brené Brown, where she shared the 10 guideposts to support wholehearted living. The very first was cultivating authenticity, and it came even before self-compassion, resilience, gratitude, and so on, which is the rest of the guideposts. Yet I have to admit that personally, for me, sometimes, even up to today, I would rather be strong than to be authentic, and because it just feels safer to just, even if it's to pretend to appear to be strong in front of others and even to myself, than to be authentic. So what are your personal experiences of this struggle, or do you experience similar or different struggles?
Absolutely. I think every one of us, right, living, breathing creatures will have this type of problems. And I think the word facade comes to mind because we all want to look good, smell good, and, feel good. But at the end of the day, right, we tend to kind of like what I would think is that we all put up a wall. We all want to, dress up, look nice, but we don't want to know what's inside of us. We don't want people to know. Because when people know us, like 3 things could happen. Number 1, they could take advantage. Number 2, they could, control us. And number 3, right, they could potentially leave us. So in that sense, right, when we start to open ourselves up, we open ourselves up to exposing all these so-called danger. So to have the courage to be authentic means that, look, I have all these flaws. do you take me for who I am, which is being a human being, but what I am? Do you take me for what I am? But I throw caution to this because we make sure that authenticity has got nothing to do with attitudes and behaviors. For example, if somebody is bad tempered and all that, you see on Facebook, I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes, when they post, I'm so angry with this person and that person, and then you see some of the comments that, oh, be who you are, unconditional love and all this. That is not, I'm sorry to say, authentic. That is enabling the person to continue to behave the way that he or she should not be. For in this instance, just talk about the women. So it's not, if you throw your tantrums, if you are bad tempered, if you ill-treat people, that's not encouraged. That's not authenticity. That is attitude and behaviors. So I think that we have to sometimes say that, okay, example, I quarrel with my husband and I go to the hawker center to buy some food. And I ask for char kway teow with no chili, for example. So already bad mood. And then the hawker gave it to me with chili and I take it home, right? And shucks, it's got chili. Then what do? So you talk about being mindful. Do I A, take the char kway teow down and throw at the hawker? Or B is to say, all right, look, angry already, hungry already, what do I do? So this is where you control your emotions. You master your emotions and say, all right, look, just calm down, take deep breaths, do lotus position, do whatever it is necessary. And then just think about no need to be in that sense. Yes, you're authentic in the sense that you're angry, you're upset. But the behavior and attitude part is where we have to have a mindfulness about it. So that is how I would describe it. I say vulnerable is not being weak. It's just being more human and more aware of our emotions, our mental state of mind, our mindfulness, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I can totally relate, with a lot of things that you have mentioned already. Because like when you mentioned about this someone putting out on social media, trying to attack another person, feeling angry. Oh, I've definitely been there. And that's probably one of the reasons why, I had that struggle in the past. Because I don't want people to have the pleasure, by acknowledging the fact that, I'm weak. And so being strong to me meant that people cannot attack me. Then meaning that if I pull up this wall, it's like wearing a bulletproof armor. Then, but in the end, I ended up having a lot of skeletons in the closet.
Yes.
And it makes it so bad that it's a lot worse, to compare, because I have to keep feeding on lies upon lies in order to have them being kept in the closet. And realizing that being an open book is so much better.
Exactly. So if I may add on to it, right, just a tip for all the women up here. We all have been trolled. We all have been criticized, insulted, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I personally gone through myself, so I give you a little background to give you the context to what I'm going to say. Right. Basically, I'm sure this is a safe platform, so I'm going to debug all my deep, dark secrets. So, after that, I don't know what happened. Yeah. Basically, I come from an abusive background, through my mom in a sense. So my self-esteem is extremely, extremely low in a sense. So everything, right, is a facade. Everything is a cover for me. So, whether I get CEO position, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm a CEO position. And I will not tell people if I'm a clerk. So I lived overseas for 20 years in Australia and 7 years in Hong Kong. And I have held positions from washing, toilets, pots and pans, all the way through to being a senior management in an aviation company. So whenever I come back to Singapore, right, when I'm washing pots and pans and washing toilets, I tell people I'm a general manager. That means generally managing things. So I'm a general manager. So I want to put myself in that light. So that people will say, wow, she got title kind of thing. But actually, what am I hiding? I'm hiding the fact I'm so ashamed of what I do. But it's got no bearings on that in a sense. So how I deal with trolls is this. Every decision, every opinion by anybody is the right one to them. And so what we are having conflict in is not the opinion per se, but it's the values. So when someone once throw me and say I'm fat, seriously, I kid you not, I took a photo of myself long time ago, and this person throw me, that was on Twitter, and say, wow, you're so fat. And 20 years ago, I would have fight with that troll. I say, you're an idiot, you're fat. So you get all these bombs throwing, at each other kind of, in a sense that you won't end up, because one will try to be bigger or better than the other. So what did I do? My mentor taught me this. When troll tries to pull you down to the level, you don't go down to the level, you go even higher than them. And true enough, not long ago, somebody said I was fat. And you know what I said? Wow, thank you so much. It's the good food in Singapore. Now, let me ask you this question. What can the person say? Right? True. So this is protecting, number one, your self-esteem. Number two is the fact that, yes, you may not agree with what the person said, but you're agreeing to the person saying it. You may not own it because it's not you. But how do you turn the troll around? You don't go down to their level. By saying, oh, you're fatter, you're more idiot and everything, you're sinking lower. That's where the troll wants you. Go down lower and lower until they destroy you completely. That's why, suicides go up. That's why, people are in depression and so on and so forth. It's because they've gone down so low, they hit rock bottom, they cannot climb back up again. So that's my tip for, not just being authentic, but, vulnerable, but have wisdom around it.
I love that, Marie. Thanks for sharing your tip. There's so many points that I want to address that will probably take another show to address so many precious points that you have brought up. And I think remind me of a quote about how you want to choose your battles. You don't want to go into every battle that you're invited in. You want to conserve your energy and only fight the battles that is worth fighting. So if this person is really just another person, not even an important part of your life, why get upset about it? And the other point that came to my mind was how I also read somewhere about the best way to disarm a person is to agree what the person is saying. But then there is a second part, and that part is your own input rather than to disagree and then go down the rabbit hole that they have chosen for you, right? It's not your choice.
Exactly.
You're reacting, not responding. So when you give the reply, was yes, and that's because of all the good food in Singapore. Like you agreed with. There's nothing I can say. You agreed with me. I'm like, damn. Like, where do I go from here? I don't know how to attack you because you're so called on the same side as me. You don't attack the people on the same side, right? So I really love that. It's like Marie is not just head of mischief. She's like. She's like the mistress of the art of strategy and art of war, the mistress version.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, but it took time, lah. Put it this way, it's not easy. Yeah.
It's always a daily journey and ever-growing journey of accumulating experiences.
Yes.
So for myself, I have focused on self-compassion in my healing journey some years ago. And then in the recent years, more towards resilience because I started on my positive psychology journey. But because self-compassion and vulnerability are so closely intertwined with each other anyway, so I would believe that I have done some inner work in the area of vulnerability as well. But I think despite all my conscious inner work, I sometimes still fall. And, being a coach myself, empowering people and so on, but being human, I think sometimes I still fall into the trap of wanting to appear strong even to myself when I actually feel vulnerable, or what I really want is connection, but I'm too scared to ask, or I don't know how to ask for it. And also thanking Marie for being so open about your background and your growing up situation. So I was adopted, so I clam up because of that, because I took on the identity. The story was that I gave myself was that I was unlovable and unworthy. That's why mommy gave me up. And for 30 years, that was my sense of identity. And everything that I do and say is actually being triggered and motivated by these limiting stories. So personally, I still want to discover how can we be vulnerable and resilient at the same time. So this is that piece that I'm still working on and trying to figure out, because it feels like such an emotional dilemma, isn't it? Like, how do you do this? Because it sounds counterintuitive. So I am thinking that perhaps authenticity is part of the answer, and this is something that I personally am still exploring.
I understand. I totally understand. And I said, I do coaching myself. By the way, I don't call myself a life coach. I don't know everything about life. I'm a faceted coach. Certain areas of in life I can deal with them, not all areas. For example, I cannot look good as Carol. I don't think I can coach myself to look like Carol, or like Joy, So there are behaviors that can be coached, but obviously talents cannot be coached. In that sense, what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, just understand that you are born. And we reframe it in a sense that even though you're adopted, I do have adopted cousins, by the way, and adopted friends, all these things. But it's the sense of the abandonment that they are struggling with.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, we cannot choose our mothers. You cannot choose our families. But the person that gave birth to us can choose to have us or not have us, or throw us away, and so on. When I was growing up, right, and I'm not young anymore, so I'm 54 years old, just for the benefit of all the ladies, and I love to tell people my age, because that's one of the authentic thing about myself. I don't care, So, and basically, when I asked my mother where I came from, right, and she always said, "Oh, it's that dustbin in Bukit Timah, somewhere there we pick you up," kind of thing. And then we're just like, okay, just move along. I mean, if that had been the time now, right, everybody would go like, "Oh no, go into depression, go counseling," Like I don't know which dustbin I come from. So it becomes like, it's like, no, I mean, this is my mom's way of telling us, she doesn't want to go into the birds and bees situation where we ask all the hard questions about sex and all sorts of things. It's just the quickest way to say we pick you up from the dustbin, and then just move along, nothing to see, So that was the thing. But then the thing was the impact that it had on us is when we grow up, we think like, our mothers won't love us and all sorts of things, But then if you look at it, right, Joy, I'm so glad that you are born. I'm so glad that despite the fact that you're adopted, you are here. So you are given a life. More so than some of the stories you hear where women throw away their babies and they die and all sorts of things. You are given another opportunity to, impact other women. So we have to understand our history does not define or determine our future. It is what we do along the way. We can either carry the history like a heavy baggage with us and call ourselves victim, right? Oh, we are doing this because I'm adopted. Oh, I'm doing this because I come from a poor background and blah, 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 We can use that as an excuse, or we can use that as a stepping board and experience and move on to the next, towards the future and change it. That would be my point of view.
Thank you for sharing, Marie. So in terms of Brené Brown research on authenticity and shame, she has found that speaking out is a major shame trigger for women. And some of the research participants actually described the struggle to be authentic as they don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, but they want to be honest, or they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but they want to say what's on their mind and they struggle with it, or they want to share informed information, but they don't appear like, I'm a know-it-all, or to say anything that's unpopular and controversial, but they don't have the courage to disagree with the crowd. So these are some of the things that women are struggling with. Which one can you relate to or have seen other women struggle with?
Well, let me think. I cannot remember the statements, but something to the effect like, we can't say disagree per se. We all go through challenges. It's the severity of each challenge in life. In fact, we go through all the things similar. It could be health, it could be money, it could be family, it could be children, marriage, career, religion. We all go through that. And basically, there's none one better or one worse than the other. It's a different severity, in a sense. So I think that's very important at the end of the day. This is, if you don't mind, I'll just give a small tip, each time I say something, so that people can relate back and reference back. So there are 3 tips I will give to people. Tip number 1 is that when you share your story, right, who are you sharing the story to? General? If general kind of story, then this would be the thing. For example, sharing my own story. I've been abused from young, full stop. That's a general story to all the general public. No shame attached, but I acknowledge that there are people who may resonate with me that they have been abused from young. Okay. Tip number 2. The second audience is like, okay, who are the audience you're sharing with now? Is it a support group? Okay, using my story again. Yes, I've been abused by my mother, or I've been abused by my father, or something like that. And, he or she beat me when I was young. Full stop. That's a support group. Once again, they resonate with you that, yes, you have been abused, you have been beaten, full stop. And so tip number 3 is, the third audience would be like your, counselor, your mentor, your coach, or, psychiatrist, psychologist. Then you go deeper. Oh, yes, I've been abused from young by my mother, and she took the stick and beat the hell out of me and cracked my head open, and all these things. Yeah, you can share that because they're bounded by code of conduct, not to share their story out, but you can be vulnerable in that respect. What most women do is everything black out into the Facebook post, social media, tell people how badly abused, what they have done, and all this and so on and so forth. They open themselves to judgment, condemnation, and shame. So in that sense, that authenticity and shame, right? You can be authentic, but you don't need to be so authentic to the point of like you are pure glass or pure gold and share everything, because everybody goes through different emotional roller coaster. You have some people who will support you and say, oh, thanks for sharing your story. But you have other people who will start judging you and condemning you, and therefore shaming you even deeper and greater. And as a result of that, your recovery will be even slower, and if not at all. That would be my statement, in the sense that, yes, share, but share with wisdom. Share with the intent of who your audience are before you open yourself up to, to sharing all the intimate details. That would be my tip.
I love what you're sharing, Marie. As a psychotherapist, I have to say there's a lot of psychoeducation that's required in this new environment that we're in, where social media, Facebook is like such an embedded part of most people's life. Like they can't even imagine not going into Facebook for a day or two. It's like unthinkable in your mind. Like we already reached that extent. I even have heard of horror stories before about those so-called influencer. If they have like a drop off in likes, maybe a few hundred likes drop, there was this particular so-called influencer actually had to went to the hospital because she had some kind of anxiety attack. Can you imagine, just because you so-called lost a few hundred followers, and she was in such a unstable condition, they actually had to inject her to stabilize her, to calm her down. Okay, it's really scary out there. So I think people are now using Facebook for therapeutic reason, for blaming reason, blaming themselves, blaming other people. But it is not the proper channel to get treatment, to heal yourself, to empower yourself. It's also not a healthy way to nurture relationship, using the Facebook to blame each other, call names. It's like to the world, literally, because especially if yours is a public account, it's very we need a lot of more education in that, because I think when especially if women becomes too emotional and give in to all these impulses, and it's not controlled, and they don't have proper channels to go to, they don't know how, or maybe for some reason they don't even want to, because maybe it's scary to see a counselor or therapist, it becomes habitual, and then your children watch you with all this behavior, and you are teaching them, they're modeling you, they're also now exhibiting all these behaviors. on social media with their friends, that we're just perpetuating what not to do. And this is a very crazy new phenomenon that's only like in the recent years because of the explosion of social media. So I love that you highlighted that, Marie, because I think it's a huge wake-up call for women to really have this self-reflection on to what extent do I exhibit such behavior? Because if I do, then we really need radical honesty and self-compassion. It's time to stop. And what can I replace it with, right? What is one small thing that I can do? And what do I do when I feel the urge to blast out again? What can I do instead, right? Like having that psychoeducation, I think it's important. And I love that we're highlighting it in this show, which is a public show. So women can think about it for themselves, for self-reflection.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I felt that some of the people who may argue, I'm just being real, I'm just being, just putting everything out there, I'm being real, I'm being me. But then, and I really agree with you, Marie, and I thank you, for sharing so much. I learned so much from you just by answering that question alone. And the thing is, there is a thin line, in fact, the line is actually kind of blur. What is being real and brutal, and being real and taking responsibility of what happened, and not going into victim mode. I think that's very, very important, because a lot of the time people, they want to share their story, they want to share their struggle, but then it's like they're always projecting it outwards, negatively outwards, and that is why they're inviting all this attack. And then after that, then they will cry and go into this victim mode. I think there's a way to really share, but then it's like taking responsibility, because whatever happens is actually a cause and effect. We have to recognize that it is something. And also, this whole mentality of society. Because I started my coaching career as an image coach. So this whole ideal about dressing up in order to impress. Then you're actually dressing up to become somebody that you are not, in order to get the job, in order to be recognized, in order to project the so-called perceived image of being successful, or to even find love. There was this particular client that came to me that she wanted to dress more demurely in order to find love. And she's not really taking after all my conversation with her was like, she's not taking responsibility in the fact that, she had to work on her personal self-image. You see? So there is actually a fine line. And I feel that there is a need to really to really draw a clean line, okay, but based on the law of attraction. I had this conversation with a friend of mine about law of attraction. In order to attract what you want, you have to be as if you are already am. And then there's actually another side of the coin, which is fake it till you make it. So people tend to, mix this whole thing together, and then the line is kind of 100% being blurred. And then we need to recognize the fact that to behave like you already am, and versus you faking it, they're both completely different things. And taking responsibility is actually the first step, to change that.
Yes.
What about you, Joy?
If I may
Marie?
add in one point, right? Because I live in Hong Kong for 7 years, so Hong Kong has been more or less perceived like a fashion city. People are dressed up very rich and all sorts of things. So obviously, those people who are influencers, affluent, and all that, they won't go down to places like the Tsim Sha Tsui there, which is like the poorer area. They hang around Central and all that thing. I think when it comes to image, right, to be honest with you, I struggled with that when I was younger, because as you say, I have to look good, smell good, feel good, so that people would think that I'm good. But actually, no. So when I go to the market, right, I actually dressed up, I put on my makeup just to go to the market. And I'm like, without my makeup, it's like, no, you're not going to see me without my makeup, kind of thing. And so then people will say, oh yeah, she's so pretty, because of makeup, but nobody see me without my makeup. Oh my gosh, it's like, Nightmare on Elm Street. So it takes a little while to get used to me. And that was my self-esteem talking. You're ugly, you're not beautiful, you're not this. So you need to dress up so that people will validate me in that sense. So it took 20 plus years for me to actually accept myself to say, hey, look, nobody is going to look at you and sell you any more expensive or cheaper based on your looks in the market. Char kway teow uncle not going to say, oh, Manny, give you extra piece of char kway teow. Not going to do that kind of thing. No, you pay for what you get kind of thing and move along. And so I love to dress down. My dressing down in the past is a jacket, jeans, and top. That's my dress down. Until everybody go, why you so corporate? So my dress down now is like, Snoopy t-shirt. By the way, Snoopy is my favorite. And then shorts, and walk along, and nobody give a toss. Nobody cast me an eye. Nobody say, she's an ugly girl. I don't give a toss. I just walk along kind of thing. So I think it boils down to esteem for me in that sense. So thanks for sharing that. Thank you, Carol.
I think that firstly, I'm enjoying how deep and how broad this conversation, this question has brought, and we went from what other people think, our own personal struggle, to even like makeup, right? And makeup is, I think, a huge piece, right? Like, what is your real motive, intention behind your makeup? Is it to be look professional, just to look acceptable, or just as a form of respect for other people? Or no, it's a form of hiding. It's a form of covering up. It's a form of feeling I'm not good enough, but I want to appear like the dude, right? Fake it too. So I think like even makeup is, Carol, I think like Marie has inspired me to think like I think we literally can do one entire conversation piece just on, like self-acceptance and makeup and because like makeup is like a multi-billion-dollar industry thanks to our sense of insecurity and our sense of feeling not good enough. We have made this industry very, very rich. And maybe, I'm not sure if what would happen from me saying this, but I'm like, maybe it's time to change that, right? So I love like Dove campaigns, right? Where they celebrate women of all shapes, body types. I think that's the right direction to go because, enough is enough, right? Enough of selling products by tapping on people's sense of unworthiness. And that is really not ethical advertising. We've gone there for many, many years. It's really too long. It's time to take back control of ourselves and of the situation that we have created because we have not accepted ourselves. So I'm loving how like we have gone so deep into our addressing our culture as well, from our own individual struggles to even culture-wide. So I love that we have Marie here that actually spark off the depth that we're going in this conversation to make it truly, truly meaningful. So thank you, Marie.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I love it. I love what you guys are doing. So what you girls are doing, by the way, not guys, you girls are doing. Flip hair a bit, and then
I know, right? Like
then after that, that's the reason why I take back the word mistress. This is what it is. By the way, so mistress is a woman of authority, of status, of title and worthy. And sorry to say this, any woman having an affair with a married man is adulterous. Let me just clarify that. It's not a mistress, kept or otherwise. Sorry, and move along, kind of thing. But you are a mistress. Yeah.
So I think that's a very clear, important distinction. That's a common misunderstanding there. I think like we are definitely on the same page with you. We literally had to have a discussion about the word sassy because when we search for it, then we realized there's some negative connotation as well with sassy, and then we were like, okay, so do we still want to go ahead? Then I was telling Carol, you know what? Actually, I like that it has some negative connotation because we are taking this word back and we're going to own it, and we're going to even literally call the program Strong and Sassy, and So I love it. We're on the same page completely.
Very good. I applaud you. I support you.
We applaud us and support us.
Support each other.
Yeah.
So on a personal, really deep level, what would you consider as your deepest struggle when it comes to authenticity?
Interesting question. To be honest with you, I'm not there yet. Okay, let's put it this way. Now, sometimes you have to pardon some of my slang, because living in in Australia, right? So I use slang, I'm not there yet, or, do a UV and people go, what the hell is she talking about? So basically, I'm not there yet means that, I have not arrived where I am perfect. I will not be and never will be. This is a statement that I need to make to all the women. We will never be perfect. But we are always work in progress. So, where you see me now, who I am, or rather what I am now today, took 30 years. And it goes through a lot of self-reflection. It go through a lot of baggage cleaning, throwing out things and all that. So if you say my struggle, I'm still struggling with my self-esteem. And when I say that, I don't mean in a bad way. It means that, I need to be authentic in who I am, which I already know. But what I am is something that I need to really come to a point where I have to accept that. For example, being the head mistress, you are perceived to be like, wow, everything, you're so good, you earn a lot of money, you live in a big house, drive big car. No, it's not that. It's like, you're trying to catch up to the society kind of perception that success means you must look like that. You must wear Prada shoes, carry Louis Vuitton bag, and so on and so forth. No, it's not like that. It's congruency. For me, is how to be congruent every day in my words, thoughts, deeds, and speech. This would be the part that is not challenge, but more like a mindfulness exercise for me, a reflection for me, because I have moments where, like, when things are not going the way it should, do I go out and not do what I preach? That is an authentic kind of struggle, for lack of a better word, because my emotions will be at play. And if I'm angry, do I go out there and slam the door and show everybody that I'm angry? Or do I go through the process of mindfulness and reflection and say, nobody needs to know that I'm angry. Yes, I'm angry. Let me deal with the anger of where it comes from, the source of it, and whether there's a solution to it or whether I should seek help for it. That would be my challenge in that sense. Yeah. Bit deep.
Well, it is actually thought-provoking though, Marie. And I mean, what you say kind of like struck a chord. Because for me, I've always, struggled in terms of like being there. Because people will say that, things like, oh, you have achieved so much. And then there's this little voice inside of me will immediately go like, oh no, not really. I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But then sometimes if I want to say it, and I'm this little voice inside me would say that, would you sound like a hypocrite if you say no? And for me, my philosophy, I'm really glad that you put it, you brought it out, because my personal philosophy is every single one of us is a masterpiece. Okay, based on my faith, right? God doesn't make a mistake.
Exactly.
And and the thing is, of course, is that we are constantly working in progress, because every day we just aim to just be a little bit better than yesterday, because we learn every day is a learning process. And for me, I have struggles, during social situation, and for me, I am more of an introvert. So it's a bit tough, especially during being in a social situation, in a networking situation, where I have to be a bit more outgoing, So I'm not being true to myself in a way, because I'm happy to just blend into the black background, sitting on the chair, being the wallflower. That is kind of me. I like to observe, but of course in social situation I'm unable to. So it's like how to draw that line, to project being me, the real me of being an introvert. I like to observe other people. I like to listening to other people's conversation. I'm interested in finding out about other people rather than talk about myself. And I do sometimes find that I overcompensate a little bit, by trying to be a bit more hyper in order to blend in with the diverse personality. So that would be a bit of a struggle for me sometimes. And then I would go home completely drained. And also having this conversation in my head at times, when that I'm pressured to be the so-called authority of my field, to be able to share my insight, share my experiences, and to share my knowledge. For me, it's just sharing. But sometimes people will come to me and say, "Oh, you know, you know it. You seem like you know it all." And there's this slight worry about being judged. But then again, it's, end of the day, we just do whatever we do, and then just continue with our journey of personal self-discovery. I think that should be the way to go.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, just have to understand this. I'm not a full-fledged psychologist and all kind of thing. So some of the terms I use is, it's along the way I learn, pick it up kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, there are labels attached, like, for example, bipolar, schizophrenia, Asperger's, and so on and so forth. Yes, I know that they're trying to, in a sense, define certain disorder kind of thing. But at the end of the day, right, for me personally, I'm not a person who like to label. For example, strawberry generation, durian generation, millennial, what I mean? Like, for me, human is a human. It's just a different age gap. But when you start to label, right, we own that labels. In a sense, that's my personal view. So don't throw tomatoes at me. If you want to throw fresh ones. Don't throw rotten ones. I got used to them. So what I'm trying to say is that, so for example, like when you say you're an introvert, right? So what's the first thought? They say introvert, I'm a quiet person. I sit there by myself. Don't want to talk to people. But then there is such thing called learned behavior, because now you're being thrust in the forefront now to like, for example, for an introvert like you to be in front of the camera is an amazing, resilient skill. It is. You broke through so many barriers to sit in front of the camera and talk to people. That is amazing. I'm sure Joy is different. Joy is an extreme extrovert, fantastic, amazing, So for her, it's no worries. But what's my point is we all learn that behavior. We have no choice in a sense. Either we make or break in our business. It's a matter of our learned behavior. So in that sense, right, who you are, we know already. You're a human being and a girl, all that. But what you are is not the definition of what you are, but more like what you can do. Yeah. So it's not your title. It's nothing to do with title. I can be a pots and pans scrubber and still stand in front of a video and give Toastmasters talk. No biggie. It's no big deal. Yeah, so I applaud you and really respect and admire you for what you do. Being an introvert and gorgeous, and just like June, Joy, I was kind of Joy, gorgeous, stand in front and you are doing what all women are struggling to do in a day-to-day aspect, because they feel they're not enough. They feel they have to arrive at somewhere to be someone, to be who or what people, society, industry, social media dictates them to be.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Words have no meaning until you give it a meaning.
Yeah.
You
give it power. Like Mistress and Sassy.
Yeah.
Marie, thank you for bringing your signature fierce love into this show. I am loving it. And but I'm sorry to tell you, actually, I am an introvert. I prefer books and animals to human beings. This is a learned behavior that I'm exhibiting, but I understand, like, I have several incidents where I get shock and horror reaction when I actually reveal that I'm an introvert. They're like, no way. I'm like, way. It's exhausting for me to actually do interviews. I normally have to rest and hide in my cave where I go into reading and solitary stuff to come out again. So I'm actually not, extrovert people energize them. For introvert, it's actually the opposite. People drain them after a certain period of time. So I definitely feel that. And that is actually why I'm cutting down on my Facebook Live. It was too draining for me because it's not natural. It was a learned behavior. You cannot overuse your learned behavior. That's what we share as well in our strengths profile assessment. So for me, when it comes to what is my biggest challenges, I would say that my biggest speaking out trigger and the place where I have the biggest struggle is actually to voice out my emotional landscape when I feel most vulnerable, especially to people who are close to me. I thought I'm not good at it at all, and it's still something that I constantly have to work on because because of what happened in my childhood. I clam up as a child. I was trained that way for many years. I was trained to sweep things under the carpet, and also because of our culture, I'm a girl, so I always had to pretend that everything was okay, even though my world crashed as far as I'm concerned. But everyone's going about, for New Year and gathering and like, nothing's wrong, everything's good. But I felt anything but good. But I had to pretend everything's okay because everyone's acting that way. So my voice was shut down since young. And to learn to speak up when I feel the most vulnerable, that especially with close ones, that tend to be something quite a bit of a challenge for me because of my background.
Totally. So, sorry to say this, but, if you sweep everything under the carpet, one day you trip and fall over. And this is why we need to lift up the carpet and start to sweep it all out, and not for all the world to see, FYI, in case, people go like, this is an opportunity or a chance to voice out everything out in social media, all my dirty things under the carpet. No, that's not the thing. I think if I may give a tip to all the listeners and to all the women out there, is this, okay, I didn't get to where I am because, I suddenly read books and I suddenly wake up one day and go, oh, I'm enough. Oh, that's me. I've arrived. It did not. It took me 30 over years of going through all the rubbish that I had gone through when I was younger and all that. And I had to seek. Now, seekers seek. And seekers know the things that they're seeking for. Searchers don't search to know what they're looking for. What I'm trying to say is this. You go to Google, you search. You search what? Oh, just search. But are you focusing on something that you're searching for? But no, you are seeking. Therefore, you go through Google to seek the answers in that sense. So a lot of women out there, right, they don't know what they're searching for. They don't know what they're looking for. But those who know, like yourselves, right, you already sought out, SOUGHT, which is you have seek and you sought out. In that sense, what exactly women should be doing for themselves, independently, interdependently, and, dependently, in that sense. But no, women are dependent on a lot of things. Dependent in a sense, like, I have to look good. I have to dress well. My image should be this. Dependent on their job to provide food on the table, dependent on their spouse to provide a happy marriage, dependent on their children to be good, brought up properly. It's a lot of dependency, so much so that when parts of it are taken out, right, they feel like, the voids are getting bigger and bigger and holes are starting to appear in them. And this is the issue with a lot of women out there, is you have voids that you want people to feel. No, you should be feeling your own voids. You should be independent. Now, what I meant is when I said that everybody go, I must go and earn my own money. No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is independent means that, you are solid, you're wholesome. That you are the person that is a better version of who you are. Not because you're defined by history, not because you're defined by anybody, not because you're changed by society. And so you are who you are. So this is why, I said, it took me 30 over years. And I said, I have not arrived yet. I'm still seeking. I'm still learning from all of you, and from Joy, from Carol, from all the women, people that I look up to, admire, and respect, because I'm always on the journey of, as Carol said, becoming a better version of myself every day. I will never be perfect, I said, but I'm always be a work in progress. And I'm also a woman of faith. So God don't make mistakes. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm loving this bonding moment that we're having right now. I'm feeling it, and it's really precious moments that it's only made possible with really authentic and vulnerable conversations like this that
Thank
we
you.
have. That we really should have enough, and to encourage women to have more of such conversations in their life as well. So this seems to be a good place to ask about more practical tips, a practical aspect of how then do we be more authentic in our lives, and how do we cultivate authenticity and wholehearted living.
Now it's homework time, right?
Mhm.
I think first and foremost, right, I do a test. How I got to this point, right, was actually inspired and influenced by Zig Ziglar. And some of you may or may not know who Zig Ziglar
Oh
is.
yes.
Yes, he's a top salesperson in Amway way in the past, and he is such an inspiration to me. Do you know that when I was going through a period back in 1999 while I was living in Australia? Let me flip hair first. Yeah, okay. So and I was going through issues of marriage and finance and so forth. And I could have up and go, meaning that, mom, send me some money. I'm going to fly home to Singapore now and leave everything behind. But what my husband said to me was this. He said, look, let's give this marriage a chance, and let's do something first and see whether we can save this marriage. Don't up and go. Don't cut it off yet. Yes, the pain and the suffering is very tough. And so I started to seek out, how can I make the marriage better? But most important is, how can I make myself better? Because I was going through a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety. I even went into depression and even suicidal. Hey, look, you can think about it, but don't act on it, basically. Emotions is the one that drives us to act on it. And so I came across Zig Ziglar, and one of the things he said to me, how do you build up your self-esteem? So he has in his book a little tip. He says, I like myself. Look inside the mirror every day for 60 days. Say, I like myself, and don't cheat. We all look in the mirror, then we go, I like myself. I like myself. No, he says that you really look into yourself. He says even better if you strip naked, but he didn't say that. I say that. So
It's a mistress style.
yeah. But you think you stand in front of a full-line mirror, then you look at yourself, right? What do you see? The thing that comes out from your mouth or your thought is exactly who you are. Or what you think. Oh, I'm ugly, I'm fat. Look at this fat. Oh my gosh, look at my waist. It's 76 centimeter. Oh my gosh. Did I just share my secret? No, I'm just joking. So look at my boobs. It's all these things. So I like all these things to be shared out in the open and say, I like myself. It doesn't matter my flaws. If I got a scar, if I got, whatever that is. So, Princess Eugenie just got married not long ago, right? And she wore a wedding gown that reveals I think she got this spinal cord issue that she had surgery. So she deliberately wore that wedding gown to show the scar at the back of the spinal cord. For a princess to do that, showing her vulnerability and her authenticity in saying that, hey, look, I got to correct my spinal cord, but look at my scar. I'm okay with it, kind of thing. Why are we hiding all these things? And so it took me 60 days of looking into the mirror and say, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. And eventually, right, I realized that I actually don't like myself. I actually am very proud of who I am. And so I start to build up my own emotional tank. I start to, say little achievement, like even though I walk for 1 kilometer, it's still an achievement. But no, as Joy, you said it previously, is how we reframe our mind. Sometimes the self-doubt that comes up, oh my God, you look like a fat whale, or you look like your hair look like a coconut, whatever that is. But these are some of the things to say. So I also have self-deprecating jokes, but I am big enough and have healthy self-esteem to make that self-deprecating joke. Like I can tell you, I look like a beach whale in bikini, and I just laugh, and I'm not affected by it because that's how my self-esteem emotional tank has been built up. So I encourage other women, put a note in front of the mirror every day, look at it and tell yourself, I like myself. Because the minute you say that, right, you are able to handle situations that cannot tear down your self-esteem, cannot, make you lose control of your emotions, because now you know what you are, who you can become, and where you're going.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Marie. In fact, this is one of the things, that I advocate the women that I work with to do. And I tell them, say, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I love you. Because we give out so much love to the people around us. We tend to forget ourselves. So, just saying that, and I love it. Because the thing is about women is we have so much power within us. We need to pick ourselves up and and be the self-activator. I mean, you are into leadership, right? The whole idea about leadership that the society has is that you have to be someone who's actually tough, someone who is like rock hard, rock solid. And for women, we need to embrace that femininity part of ourselves. So it doesn't mean that we have to conform to that. And being a leader is actually being, self-activating. I want to do this on my own. And I love how you said that, we have all these various holes that we need to fill. And no one else can fill it for us except for ourselves. So what should we do? Do we get a shovel right now and then start filling it? Or do we just stand there and whine about it? I think the most important thing is, to cultivate authenticity. It's like all of us, we are a leader in some way within our community, within our own personal spheres of influence. Being a mom, right? I am a leader to my kids. And then, being a daughter to my parents, I am also a leader in a way to lead them in the direction I would like them to go. So leading by example, I guess, is what I feel, being authentic is all about.
Exactly. And John Maxwell said this, you do one thing 100% of the time. In other words, right, what we're trying to do is some people say, I change a little, I change here, change there, and then within 24 hours, I'll be this person. Actually, no, it takes little success to build up and accumulate into this big change. And this is where one day you wake up and you go, wow, what was that all about? Because you transform yourself from inside out. You don't transform yourself from outside in, because outside in is not transformation. It's just something conform, And so, makeover, Exactly. So, and I posted on Facebook. I'm sure Joy has been reading. I'm not sure Carol has been, but, I post things about my marriage. I post things about the things I do, the things I encounter that stem from my own personal evaluated experiences. Not just experiences, but it's also the work that I have put in. And these are the results that have been generated over the years. I mean, I met my husband when we were 17 years old. And so we are together for 37 years now. And in a sense, so we see all the beards and, wrinkles, all this. But at the end of the day, it was like, people say, wow, you put up with one person. It's not you put up with one person. You are the better version and you complement the other better version, and together you're a whole. Likewise with your children. Likewise with your community, you are a better version because you can then make better versions of other people around you. If we are all broken, all filled with holes, then how can we impact and lead other people? Because we can either manipulate or influence. But we want to influence, we don't want to manipulate. Because, in that sense that you manipulate, you only last a distance. But when you influence and you inspire, people's lives change along the way because it's a ripple effect. So I congratulate you both women because you both are amazing. And it really, really is very, very courageous of both of you. I'm not talking about bravery here. Very, very courageous of you to put yourself out there and say, ladies, let's be sassy. Ladies, let's be better version of ourselves. Ladies, come, follow us. And when you follow us, you too become leaders by yourself.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you so much. I think inviting you is also my form of respect for you. I have also learned as I observe you leading mistress class, observe you daring to even own this work and inviting other women to also take ownership of this work as they rightly is the mistress of their life. So it was a no-brainer for me. You are such a perfect fit. We're having the same energy and moving in the same direction, wanting to not just empower women, but wanting them to own it. I think there is some slight distinction there, wanting them to take ownership of their pure essence and say, this is me, and not be ashamed of it. So that's really a daily practice, I think, for everyone, including ourselves. The other thing that I really loved about us is it's very clear to me that we are so committed, and we believe that we are all work in progress, and we're very conscious of that. We're very conscious about the effort, always asking ourselves the right question: how can I keep moving in this direction, even though today is a bit challenging? I'm really feeling a bit vulnerable right now, but we just keep moving and keep remembering that it's okay, we're a work in progress. So I think that's the beautiful journey, right? Allowing ourselves to have that journey together as well. So when it comes to wholehearted living, for me, I truly believe that it's a daily practice. I think that it is a daily choice to show up, and to lean into the discomfort and still stand on your sacred ground, because you are sacred and you are worth it. So I think the moment you believe that, then everything just flow from that space, right? When you believe that I'm enough, I'm not just more, I'm more than enough. In fact, I'm sacred, and this is my position, this is my boundaries. And to state it from that place, it wouldn't be so hard, because it's not like I'm trying to be. You own your essence. Of course, easier said than done. I think it's a daily choice to choose to show up and have that kind of giving yourself permission to own who you truly are. And of course, speaking your truth is not always going to be comfortable, or it's not always going to win you fans, obviously. But if your intention is authenticity instead of wanting to be liked, then I think that you would be able to accept whatever the outcome is and still be happy with yourself, because I'm not here to win fans. I'm here to be me, because I'm the only one who can be me.
Exactly. Love it. Yeah.
So from a community perspective, right, the way to do this is really to be able to support one another. How can women communities like She Network, like Mistress Class, support women to cultivate authenticity together?
I actually love this question, because I think that living in a Western country before, like Australia, and which is also quite influenced by USA, is I think rehabilitation in all these countries are like the norm and accepted, and people actually applaud you for going into rehab. But in the Eastern culture, right, like ourselves, right, it's like, oh my gosh, if I go and get rehab for, say, gambling or whatever, it's a shame. There's a stigma attached to it. And it's like, so we want to destigmatize all this rubbish about, like, I am a victim of domestic violence. I have been raped. I had abortion. I had, divorce. We want to destigmatize them. We're not saying that, is what's the word for it? We're not talking about moral compass here, kind of thing, because at that point in time, whatever decision they make is the right decision to them. I'm not saying to us. It's the consequences that follow after is a different story altogether. So in that sense, what we sow, we reap. Okay, but what I want to say is this: is like, for She Network, for Mistress Class, this is a safe and soft platform where we want women to come and tell us everything that you are going through. And then what we do is this: anything that's of taboo is always underground. Anything that's taken out above will become the norm. In that sense, it becomes like, for example, like, we're not going to go into this, but like all these gay things, right? It took a few movie stars to say I'm gay, and then suddenly it's like everybody wants to be gay, kind of thing. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, because suddenly it becomes like, it's normal now. It's no longer a taboo subject, kind of thing. But likewise about this. So during the COVID situation, I have accumulated. I actually organized a platform, and I wanted the women to come out and tell me what is going through in your lives right now. And I hear stories of horrible, domestic violence cases and all sorts of things, and And so at the end of the day is to say, look, you want to be authentic. Let's be authentic in the right platform. Don't go and share out in the social media anything. Let us, come together collectively, in a community to say, when you come here, right, you not only get the opportunity to voice out your pain, your suffering, your trauma, but you also get a collective group of supportive women who believe you, who stand with you, protect you, and dust you off so that you can, get back up and go back into the world even better woman than you are nowadays. And so in a sense, right, what this is, I would suggest is, do not underestimate the power of inner circle and coaching. This is a very important journey because we are also emotional sounding board for you. Coaching is not just directing you to a goal, but along the way you will fall down. We all fall down, by the way. If we don't fall down, then I don't know, we cheat. But what I'm saying is that when we fall down, then we lift you up, dust you off, and know that there's no shame. We're only human. Failure is part of life, just like success is a journey. And so along the way, right, let's move along together. So this would be my cry for all the women to say, please don't stand alone. Please don't be alone, because you are not alone. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I can definitely agree with you, because this is what I was going to say as well. I mean, I couldn't emphasize the importance of having support and having a community behind you, to catch you when you fall. Because going through what I went through in the past, I'm just glad. I'm just glad I did not make the call to end my life. But the thing is, I've always felt strongly, if I had a community somewhere where I can actually air the feelings, negative feelings I was going through, I would have actually gone through the whole healing process a lot sooner. But then again, it's like things have to happen somehow. But the thing is, that's also one reason why I'm part of She Network together with Joy, because community support is so important. And like you said, Marie, engaging in dialogue, because whatever is taboo that's under the line, we have to bring it up, and the only way to bring it out to the open is engaging in dialogue, and just to normalize it, because by talking about it, we are actually normalizing everything. So this is actually very, very important, especially whichever, women network we are, whoever that we support, our various age group, different geographical location. It is good to come together, engage in dialogue, and really support each other end of the day. Yeah.
Exactly. I want to put a caveat to something first, because just in case people misunderstood that, I'm not saying that just because we destigmatize certain things, therefore it is, just no holds barred, anybody can do anything. That's not what I meant. What I meant is that, at the end of the day, when we can deal with the history, but we cannot deal with the future. In other words, if let's say somebody has gone through a divorce, for example, right? And well, yes, we understand that it was traumatic for you and things happen, but that doesn't mean you go and carry on and marrying 3 other person and then divorce 3 times, down the road kind of thing. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying that, we understand that, SH*T happens in life. Yeah, but at the end of the day, right, it's what we do with the experience and move on from it. Because once you deal with, say, for example, the issue of divorce, right, when you become a better woman, a more, wholesome person, right, then you bring those values into the next marriage, which then strengthen that marriage, and you become a better mother, better wife. And this is what I meant, right? So what I meant is not for you to go and then start marrying 4 or 5 times and then say, oh yeah, I got this group of women, come, let me just pour out all my woes and then, done and dusted, move along. That's not what I meant. So we have to make sure that this is clarified.
Indeed. And that's the reason why coaching is so important.
Yeah.
If not, you will just be, a grievous dump, and then you just keep going through a vicious cycle and repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Joy?
I think I started She Network because I really believe in the power of community. The women, we tend to personalize things a lot, and we take in the shame. We think that we're the only one experiencing it, but it's so not true. Right? Women all over the world experience very similar challenges, and there's even research that reflects that. So, but it's one thing to know that. Okay, firstly, it's a lot of women that doesn't know that. Secondly, is even if you do know that, it's one thing to know that. Is another thing altogether to experience it by hearing. Like even in conversations like this, so many times we have conversations here on this show, and then we ourselves, right, the women leaders are like, oh my gosh, like I feel hurt. I feel, wow, I'm not the only one. Right? So it's a very natural human connection that happens, and it's a very powerful connection, realization that makes you, oh, right, because your perspective shift. Oh, it's not just me. And just that thought alone is so, so powerful. And that thought alone will inspire you to take action, give you the courage that you didn't have before to take certain action that that's going to help you and support you. So one of the my desire and hope for She Network and to have shows like this is firstly create conversations, really much needed conversations about the matters of the heart, about things that is very relevant to wholehearted living. Besides all the other shows that we have, we talk about profits, entrepreneurship, marketing. Sure, very important to life, but there's also this other part of life that we're not having enough conversations about. And I wanted to start the ball rolling and do whatever is within my control, especially for Asian women. Where I mean, even among girlfriends, we don't really talk about things like that. Let's face it. We talk about our kids, husband, business, but we don't talk about stuff like that, about self-compassion. Like I don't remember ever anyway, without deliberate intention, having such conversation at all, even with our own girlfriends. So I think like when you have platforms, communities where we deliberately have a team and we want to explore that team, like this conversation, things change. Then you have that not nourishing peace where you can self-reflect. Even if you're a silent watcher for this show, I'm very happy, like I don't even need you to comment or like this video. So long as we have planted some seeds in you, I don't even need to know about it. As far as I'm concerned, as the founder of She Network, my job is done, right? Co-creator of this show with Carol, our job is done. I don't need to know what I don't need to know, but you need to know what you need to know, and that is what our show is about. To communities, to She Network, Mistress Class, and all other women communities, so that there's opportunities for discussion of what truly matters in life, what is very important to nurture the feminine spirit, right? To be courageous and authentic and to be vulnerable together, right? The key word here is together, and to share our deepest fears and dreams. And I think it also helps women to remind them that there is this sense of togetherness, and we can struggle and make our glorious attempt in cultivating wholehearted living. And you know what? We can do it together. So that is what really set fire in my heart, I guess, to keep on building She Network, as Marie, like a really vulnerable, open, candid moment here. It's a lot of work to build the community, and it's some days it almost feels like, why am I doing this? Because it's exhausting. Women might not be responding to you that you want them to respond to, and you have to think about, oh, how else can I engage you more? How else can I get you to think about this more seriously? It's exhausting, right? But we do what we do because we have this fire in our heart, and we have all these hopes and dreams. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah, I think also another tip would be, not so much tip per se, but another encouragement to all the women out there is this, that don't let money be the factor that comes in, to get the necessary coaching, mentoring. Because, just because you say, well, I cannot afford a coach, or I cannot afford, to pay for training and all these things. But that's not the point. You can afford to buy things, but you cannot afford to make your life better. And this is very, what's the word for it? Like, I see a lot of women out there doing things like that. in that sense, and so they missed out, right, the necessary help that they need, and then they carry on life, and then they say that life sucks, and so at the end of the day, there's no help there's no support, and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, there are. But what I'm saying is this: if you find a coach and you're prepared to do what is necessary, kind of thing, then at the end of the day, just understand that there will be people who want to help you. We're not interested. For me personally, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm not interested to earn $500 an hour, right, and then deprive you of the help. If you tell me that at the end of the day, that I can only afford $100, I don't mind. It's not that I want to take your money. It's I want you to be accountable and be responsible for your own life. And this is very important, because out there in society, they keep free. Yes, it's very good. It's very, what's the word for it? Like, it's good for you. But at the end of the day, you also send a wrong message that, free means that it's readily available. But the time that you put in, the energy, as you said, Joy, when you put in all those things, comes at a sacrifice and a cost, So that is the thing that I will encourage all women. Speak to us, don't hold back and say, look, I really need the help, but I cannot afford. Don't worry. We'll do something for you. We'll do something like maybe form a club, which, by the way, I am. It's called Mistress Class Club, but you're the first to know. So, and all these things, yeah. So, yes, spread like wild. When you want something to spread like wildfire, you say it's a secret. It's a secret, by the way. Yes. So at the end of the day, right, just understand that, we want to help you. We genuinely want to help you. And people like yourself, Joy and Carol, you are taking time out of your busy schedule to sit here and not just have me to have a discussion and all that. Your time is very precious, and this shows your heart for women. And that's what you want to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Marie, for appreciating us. Wow, I certainly didn't expect this, but we went so deep. We spent a long time going in depth into this. There's so much wisdom in what we have shared. Us being vulnerable and sharing our experiences. So, what is your final tip for cultivating authenticity?
Okay, so one tip, final tip, short, sharp, and sweet. Sorry, women talk a lot lah. I mean me lah. So, one tip is this. Okay, have three groups. Group number one is where you come to this platform and you share and you learn and all those things. Number two is that you have friends, support group kind of thing, but you still make sure that you don't overshare kind of. Tip number three is the biggest one of all. To develop authenticity, you have inner group of no more than 5 people. And these 5 people means that, basically they are the ones that okay with you being vulnerable, okay with you, telling all your crap to them kind of thing, without judgment, shame, or condemnation. So this is the tip, is to form the inner circle, because every woman, and as a woman of faith earlier on, as I said, God did not create people to be isolated by themselves. No man is an island, neither is a woman. And so at the end of the day, right, to go on the journey of self-discovery and recovery, we need to have people around us, not to endorse our bad behaviors or attitude, but rather to encourage the growth in us, so that at the end of the day, right, we can say, look, I my self-esteem is good, I'm a more confident woman now. I can better serve my husband or my family or the community or in my work, and that's the tip that I'll give to all the women. Yeah,
Very deep, and I really, really love it.
thank you.
For me, I can't just boil down into just one final tip. I would just say it's actually a series of actions that we have to do. So it's daily reflection, spending time with ourselves first thing in the morning, and then to think about what you want to achieve. Daily reflection is very, very important for me. This is how I live. my life, and also constant examinations of our doubts and values. This can be done through journaling, and I find that very, very therapeutic, which I would like to share with the audience. And then the last thing is, once you have that, the first two things down, the next thing is to develop the self courage to just go out and get it. I think it's not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of practice, but anyone can do it.
Yes. Very good.
Beautiful. I love what you say. Like it's a process, right?
Mm.
For me, my tip I think would be to know that you're not alone. Choosing to cultivate authenticity daily is really the most courageous and most loving thing that you can do for yourself every day, and to transform that fear or hesitation or discomfort you have about all this thing about cultivating authenticity, being real, showing up, transform those fear energy into motivating energy for yourself, and do that together with a group of like-minded women. As Marisa Pugh, the creator of RTT, I would like to say, fear and excitement, actually there is no difference. It's the same hectic, high energy. So you can reframe it in your mind and tell your mind that I'm so excited when maybe your first instinct that you identify as fear, but you can reframe it in your mind and say, I'm so excited, I'm going to use this energy too, and then you reframe, and then you can do the energy rather than stuck in that fear mode where you might be so stuck that you don't even want to move, you're too scared to move, but to turn that fear into a motivational force for yourself. So as part of the self-mastery journey. So to me, that would be my tip.
Wow. That's awesome. Learn so much.
Yes, like that's one of the most beautiful thing about this show is everyone that come on the show, and we all always agree by the time the show ends, everyone's like, wow, I've learned so much from one another. I felt heard and validated. Then that was when I quickly realized that, wow, this show is quite powerful, and like it's quite funny because it's your own show, but you didn't think that it was going to have the kind of impact for yourself in your guests, and that is really beautiful flourishing, of ourselves, as well as we give our time and dedication to this cause to support other women.
Yes.
So besides having such conversation and having a reflection, and then moving ourselves towards the direction of wholehearted living, another way of being a strong and sassy is to know your strengths and to be able to cultivate them mindfully. And for that, my dear Shees, you can actually do a free character strengths assessment. And I'm going to share with you this visual. You can do a free character strengths assessment from viacharacter.org. This is created by the father of, let me remove. This is created by the father of positive psychology, Dr. Martin Solomon, and he very, very deliberately kept it free so that everyone has an opportunity to discover what are your top character strengths and to develop them. And I think in a challenging time like this, more than ever, you really need to get serious about what is your inherent, innate strength so that you can show up in life as your strongest and kindest self. So I would encourage you to do this assessment, and then go to our Super Pack with Joy Method page. There's a lot of Strengthathon videos there. Each video is dedicated for each of the 24 strengths. So you can just pick the specific videos that is highlighting your top strengths, which we call your signature strengths, and what are the recommendations there for you to further develop your strengths. All these videos are for free. It is to support you in your growth. So please take advantage of all these free resources that's available to empower yourself and to show up as the strong and sassy she that you are meant to be. Let's show up together.
True. Very good.
Wow. How's everyone feeling right now?
I think wonderful.
I'm feeling this like expansive feeling in my heart, this like expansion. I feel like I've grown and I've evolved because of these conversations that we're having. So Thank you so much, Marie, for joining us, joining me and
Thank you.
Carol,
Thank you.
making time to share your wisdom. In I think, like Carol, we really have learned a lot just listening to Marie. Yeah.
Thank you. Likewise. And I think, at the end of the day, when you love what you do, it's not work. And it's true because I operate on belief. So it's not just curriculum or, products or services. It's the belief that all women are created equal, all women deserve, to be treated right and be a better version of herself. That's the belief that actually drives me. So I'm very honored and privileged that you got me today, and very honored indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. What a beautiful way of ending this show. So now it's time for our Lotus Pose. I love Marie's rendition of the Lotus Pose. So cute.
Yeah. So cute.
After all that seriousness, she's like, "Well."
Yeah. I love that she loves Snoopy.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching. I hope that you have gained and you feel like there's some things that you can self-reflect on. And remember, She Community Mistress Class, we're here to you for you. We are here to serve. So please reach out if you need help. Join the communities, be active, and take full responsibility for your own growth to show up as a strong and sassy she in the world. So till the next episode, take care, happy Diwali, and have a good week ahead. Bye.
Bye.